Welcome, friends, to another edition of More Bad News, brought to you as always by Camel Cigarettes. Take the Camels Challenge, smoke Camels for 30 days, and see for yourself what a difference Camels can make in your life. My friends, Camels made a difference in my life. I began smoking Camels when I was in high school studying the Talmud at Yeshiva Chavetz Chaim. Camels were there for me through all those early all-nighters before exams in college. Camels joined me on my first sexual experiences. I associated smoking with all sorts of very pleasurable experiences, and you can too. Just take the Camels Challenge and see how tobacco can enhance your life experiences. You know, when I was teaching my students, they were subjected to endless Camels commercials, and occasionally a student would try a Camels. So one day, a student came to my office to complain that he had taken my advice, went out and bought a pack of Camels, went to a party and smoked a Camel and ended up vomiting his guts out. It was the worst experience of his life, and he wanted to know how I could encourage such behavior. I told him that everyone gets sick the first time that they smoke. You have to get yourself attenuated to it. Smoking is not for the faint of heart. The reason that I felt okay selling Camels is that no matter how hard I tried, I really couldn't convince any of them to become smokers. And that was my point. How was it that when I was growing up, everyone knew that Camels was good for you, and when I was teaching my students, everyone knew that smoking was bad for you? One of the main themes of my show has always been that everything we ever thought we knew for sure with absolute certainty has turned out to be completely wrong. And the very first example I always gave was the notion that the Earth was the center of the universe and the sun and the stars all moved around the Earth. More to the point, we all seem to start out life believing that we are the center of the universe and everything revolves around us. To understand that the universe does not revolve around the Earth is much easier than understanding how insignificant we actually are as individuals and as a species. There's a wonderful high holiday prayer, Elohai ad shelo notzarti, which literally means until I didn't exist, or before I existed, I was nothing. And now that I exist, I'm still nothing. And after my death, I'll be even less than nothing. All I am is a vessel filled with shame and humiliation. I think that about sums up our situation. Before we existed, it was as if we had no existence, and after we no longer exist, it will be as if we never existed in the first place. And if you can wrap your head around that basic fact and take the Camel's Challenge, believe me, I think everything will be a lot easier. So, my friends, it was another week of very bad news and a particularly difficult week for me. And it's not that anyone I know died. All those people who died last week were like distant cousins. And it's not the 36 million children under the age of 5 who are acutely malnourished, or even the half a billion people who are suffering from acute food insecurity. In 2012, after reading The Collapse of Western Civilization by Naomi Oreskes, I realized that while her book was written as a warning, meant to appeal to human agencies so that we should prevent this history, I realized it actually was the history of our future and that nothing was going to stop our collapse. And then I read Elizabeth Colbert's book, The Sixth Extinction, and I realized that just as the collapse of our civilization could not be altered, so too the sixth extinction was not something coming, but something that we were in the midst of and could not be stopped. So I've been living with this awareness now for about a dozen years. I know it's not always uh, uh, going to be, I know it's always going to be a week of very bad news. I know that today is the best day that we'll ever have because tomorrow is always going to be worse. Nothing can ever get better. So it doesn't matter who wins the election. The American Republic has already collapsed. It's 1860 all over again. The South cannot accept the election of Lincoln, and the North cannot accept the South's rejection of the election. Come November, the neo-Southerners will not accept the victory by the Democrats, and the Democrats cannot accept the victory by the Republicans. There is really nothing to decide. The country is deeply divided, and both camps are armed and seem ready for battle. So it's not like anything new has happened last week, but sometimes it's hard. The acceleration of our demise is always shocking. No matter how pessimistic I think I am, it turns out that I'm still dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones we used to know, where the treetops glisten. That was written in 1942 by Irving Berlin, a Jewish refugee from Eastern Europe, while European Jewry was being exterminated. But all that's a part of who I am and why I'm able to bring you this show. So today is Mother's Day, and I thought that I should share with you a piece that I wrote in 1986 as part of a review of a book called When Biology Became Destiny. Mother's Day helped pave the way to Nazi Germany, according to Dr. Karin Hausen, professor of social history at the Technical University in Berlin. The holiday, which was first observed in the United States in 1908, was introduced into Germany in 1922 by Rudolf Nauer, the founder of German Mother's Day, as he dubbed himself in the Nazi Party newspaper Völkischer Beobachter. Nauer, the business director of the Association of German Florists, which formally affiliated with the Nazi Party in 1933, put together a coalition of right-wing religious and political groups to promote the holiday. In 1926, the coordination of the national effort to promote Mother's Day was taken over by the Task Force for the Recovery of the Folk, a group dedicated to racial improvement. According to Professor Hausen, Mother's Day was used to promote Nazi ideology and attack the decadence of the Weimar Republic. The Task Force for the Recovery of the Folk published numerous pamphlets in which they attacked the filth and trash that abounded in Weimar Germany. The Weimar years were portrayed as a nightmare in which beliefs in progress, free trade, female emancipation, pacifism, co-education, equality, nudism, and free love dominated the day. The new holiday was seen as a means to educate the people to help stem the crisis of the family. Conservative religious groups took up Mother's Day campaign as a way to fight against Antichrist embodied in Bolshevism, which had come to destroy the heavenly order of the family and motherhood. The Nazis used such sentiments to build a coalition against abortion, contraception, and the psychic and spiritual dematernalization of women. The coalition included the sellers of confectionaries, perfumes, lingerie, clothing, porcelains, etc., all interested in expanding their markets in depression-ridden Germany. By 1933, the Nazis had declared Mother's Day an official folk holiday. With the support of the fundamentalist churches, they closed down the numerous birth control clinics that had been set up during the Weimar years, forbade the distribution of contraception, and increased penalties for abortion. Motherhood was glorified as service to the nation and the race. Mother's Day was thus a means of bridging the contradictions within Nazi ideology regarding women and the family. The Nazis were able to use Mother's Day as a means of pulling together a coalition of pro-family, anti-abortion, and anti-pornography groups. Sentimentalism, religious fundamentalism, and commercialism all helped to sell the program that led to the breeding farms and death camps. By coincidence, Mother's Day arrives each week after Holocaust Memorial Day. Perhaps it would be worthwhile to remember the connection between the two holidays. Well, Israel is beginning its operation in Rafah, and synagogues around the world are praying for the IDF and preparing to celebrate Israel's 76th birthday. Hamas may have outdone Osama bin Laden, and October 7th may end up replacing 9/11 as the most significant day in the collapse of Western civilization. It's amazing what can be accomplished with violence. But that misses the point. No one is in control. We lost control a very long time ago. The notion that somehow we can alter our destiny is delusional thinking. I remember riding an old Egged bus in Israel in 1967. The sign in the front of the bus said no smoking, but on the back of every seat was a little ashtray. The bus was going swerving around a steep hill, and as it swerved, I was pushed over to the window. When I looked down, there was a burnt-out carcass of an Egged bus at the bottom of the ravine. Today, that bus is being driven by Bezalel Smotrich and Itmar Ben-Gvir. Well, that'll have to do it for this week. Happy Mother's Day. Stay safe And hopefully I'll see you again next week with more bad news.